So this is the BAS kit bag. I've already been measured up for all my gear. I've got one outstanding item which I'll be picking up a little bit later on, not sure when. So I thought I would just show you guys what is inside, what the clothing issue is, and do a little bit of a compare to the clothing that I used when I first went down 30 years ago. Big changes, but yeah, interesting to have a look. So as you can see, packed to the gunnels. I'm going to be working quite a long way south, so it's going to be quite deep field, quite cold. I would think probably about -30 minimum. And that's summer temperatures. It would have been a lot colder in the winter time. So I'm just going to set up the camera, and you can see what the kit is and how it works. Hi again. I thought I'd go through some of the differences that I found between the kit from 30 years ago, issued 30 years ago, and the kit that's been issued now in 2025. On the whole, the big difference is there is a lot more synthetics, not so much natural fibres that we were issued 30 years ago. A lot more synthetics, but you know, that's to be expected. But not the underlayers were not a lot of difference. What we're getting now is a nice merino wool base layer. We had almost exactly the same 30 years ago. It doesn't smell after a long amount of time. As you can imagine, we're not going to have the option to wash clothes and whatnot whilst we're off base. So that was very similar to what we had. Again, with the sort of mid layer, we've been issued with fleeces. Yeah, sort of very similar to what you'd buy off the shelf in any outdoor shop in the UK or anywhere around the world. So a set of dungarees, quite handy. It's actually got a zip out back, so you can use the loo without having to drop the entire set, which is pretty damn handy. We had not so much, we had fleeces, but a lot of our kit was Helly Hansen. I don't have it with me now, but a really popular item was like a Helly Hansen sort of green fibre pile type jacket. We also had 30 years ago, we used to call them a fid shirt, which was a checked shirt. You've quite often seen pictures of everyone in these checked shirts, quite itchy, high wool content. So that was a mid layer, and we would also have a Norwegian solid wool sweater, which was a big favourite with a lot of guys. Again, good kit, but quite a bit tricky to regulate your heat. So when you're working hard, you have to physically take the entire jumper off rather than unzipping it a bit. Next on, for workwear, I've got these. I think they're actually probably Canadian or American. They're like a insulated dungarees. Okay, and we're really good for sort of work-wise, stop wind and whatever. So yeah, quite different from what we had before. So these are the trousers that we're getting now. What we had in my day was Ventile, and Ventile is a really close woven cotton, and it's meant to be, well, it is, it's windproof and it breathes a bit, and like, the nickname for them was called Windies. Now we modified our gear, so these originally were just trousers to this point, and then I put on some braces to make them into sort of dungarees. As you can see, they've got a lot of use and a lot of wear, but they were a good bit of kit to have. On the top, we've got this thing from this now, which is like I think it's a nylon Paramo windproof, got a little bit of insulation, quite a nice simple sort of jacket to stop the wind going through. We had, again, going back, made out of Ventile, and originally this was a smock. It didn't have a zip on the front, so I modified it by putting a zip on it and various other bits and pieces to make it what I thought more useful. Some different pockets, but as you can see, it was like worn all the time. Really nice, simple, great bit of kit. We get issued with loads of different pairs of gloves, so I think for different times, different jobs, so lots of and then there's mittens made out of Gore-Tex. So yeah, loads of different types of gloves. I've also got gloves to do with like refueling, which are rubber to stop the fuel getting on your hands. Glove wise was similar, but we had, you used to call these bear paws. They're, I think, Canadian Army issue, and they were a really good simple glove, well, mitten. One of the best bits on the back is a load of this bit, which is sheepskin, great for wiping your nose, get the dingly danglies off. So that gives them footwear. Footwear has quite a bit different. This is they're called, I think, baffin. Great big things. Steel toe caps. They're, I think, chemical resistant. They have an inner inside. We actually get another pair of inners so you can dry the inners out. So yeah, I mean, that's a size 12. Sorry, size 13 American, which is like, you know, just enormous. But they look really quite good. Quite happy with those. So what we had, we used to call them mucklucks, these things here. So similar sort of idea. In the inside is a wool inner, and we had two pairs of these, so you could dry one out, because the biggest thing is to try and keep your feet warm, is to keep them dry. And then inside here has like a leather bottom, but then there's a really thick footbed, so just to insulate yourself from the snow. So that was that. I think these are actually they were sort of army issue, again Canadian. They no steel toe cap or anything. They had hardly any sole on them, so they got really quite, if you wore them in the snow and ice, they're okay, but if you use them on anything other than that, they would get flat and then you'd be easily sort of like slipping up. But that's the big difference with that. In around Rothera now that it's so, I think it's a lot warmer place than it was in my day, we actually get issued with wellies. I mean, they're nicely insulated wellies, but because that's the change in the environment, in that yeah, we have to use wellies rather than sort of like leather boots and that, because it's going to be relatively mild and wet. So yeah, so that's given an idea of some of the kit. So we'll see what happens. There you go.